Good morning, those that watch these devotions. We're going through Genesis, and I'm doing a different format now. I'm just filming it ahead of time on video, and then putting it on YouTube to put it on Facebook. So hopefully this works well. Genesis 10. We're in Genesis 10 now. So let's just read this from the New American Standard Bible, Genesis 10. The descendants of Noah. Now these are the records of the generations of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah. The sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Tyrus. So those are sons of Japheth. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, and Riphath, and Togarmah. I'm going to look up something if I can real quickly. I'm going to go to my ESV Study Bible app, which is a really, really good study Bible, and I want to see something about what it says here. This is the descendants of Noah's sons, and it says the next main section of Genesis outlines developments after the flood, focusing on how humanity becomes divided into different nations. Humanity divides into different nations. They call it the Table of Nations, and we have the clans, languages, lands, and nations. This entire passage sets out largely in the form of lists, how the descendants of Noah's three sons populate different regions of the earth. Additional details of special interest are occasionally added. This geographical passage is describing a process that covered a long time as family clans migrated to particular regions. Family and clans migrated to different regions. We see how they migrated, and so this covers many, many years. The ancestor after whom the clan or tribe is named may not have lived in the region that later bears his name. You hear that? The ancestor after whom the clan or tribe is named may not have lived in the region that later bears his name. Each of the three main parts of this section concludes with a reference to clans, languages, and nations. Clans, languages, and nations. And this begins, listed around 2200 BC. Might be a little different. Japheth's descendants are listed first. From these, the coastland peoples spread in verses 2 through 5. This is the only additional remark that is made concerning them. It associates Japheth's descendants with the coastal region and islands of the Mediterranean Sea. And then in verses 6 through 20, we have Ham's descendants receive considerably more attention than those of Japheth and Shem. Among them figure many of Israel's enemies, such as Egyptians, Babylonians, Philistines, and various Canaanite groups. Ham's immediate sons are Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. Cush and Put are the regions to the south and west of Egypt, respectively. Cush fathered Nimrod. This association may seem unusual, given that Cush is linked geographically with Africa and Nimrod with Mesopotamia. Nimrod is of particular interest for several reasons. He is linked to the great cities of Babylon, in Nineveh and Assyria, whose inhabitants at a later stage would descend in destructive power on the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. The military might of the Assyrians and Babylonians may account for the related observations that Nimrod was a mighty man, a warrior, and a mighty hunter. These descriptions, one of which is linked with irony to the expression before the Lord in verse 9, are probably to be viewed negatively. Nimrod's aggression as a person runs totally counter to what God has intended when at creation he commissioned humanity to be his vice regents or representatives. I'm going to stop right there from reading about this, some of this background, and let's continue here. I think we left off on verse maybe 3. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz and Riphath and Togarmah. The sons of Javan were Elisha and Tarshish, Kittim and Dodanim. From these, the coastlands of the nations were separated into their lands, every one according to his language, according to their families and to their nations. So we're seeing this, a people group spread out. The sons of Ham were Cush and Mizraim and Put and Canaan. The sons of Cush were Sheba and Havilah and Zabta and Ramah and Sabtaka. And the sons of Ramah were Sheba and Dedan. Now Cush became the father of Nimrod. He became a mighty one on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel and Erech and Akkad and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From that land he went forth into Assyria and built Nineveh and Rehoboth, and Calah. Now we recognize some of these names like Nineveh. And Resen, between Nineveh and Calah, that is the great city. And it's referencing this Resen as a great city. Mizraim became the father of Ludim and Anamim and Lahapim and Nephtuhim. And Pathrusim and Casluhim, from which came the Philistines in Torim. Now we recognize the Philistines, and we'll see them later. Canaan became the father of Sidon, his firstborn in Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgashite, and the Hivite, and the Arkite, and the Sinite, and the Arvadite, and the Zemarite, and the Hemathite, and afterward the families of the Canaanite were spread abroad. So this is the spread of the Canaanites. The territory of the Canaanite extended from Sidon as you go toward Gerar, as far as Gaza, as you go toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and Admah and Zebam, as far as Lasha. Now we recognize Sodom and Gomorrah. We'll see more from them in a few chapters. These are the sons of Ham according to their families, according to their languages, by their lands, by their nations. Also to Shem, the father of all the children of Aber, and the older brother of Japheth, children were born. The sons of Shem were Elam, and Asher, and Arpachshad, and Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram were Uz, and Hal, and Gether, and Mash. Arpachshad became the father of Shelah, and Shelah became the father of Eber. 2 sons were born to Eber. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Joktan became the father of Almadad, and Shalaf, and Hazar Mavath, and Jerah, and Adoram, and Uzal, and Diklah, and Ablah, and Abimal, and Sheba, and Ophir, and Havilah, and Jabad. All these were the sons of Joktan. Now their settlement extended from Masha as you go towards Saphar, the hill country of the east. These are the sons of Shem according to their families, according to their languages, by their lands, according to their nations. These are the families of the sons of Noah, according to their genealogies, by their nations. And out of these nations were separated on the earth after the flood. So that wraps up what's called the Table of Nations in Genesis 10. Genesis 11 extends this section with universal language, babble, and confusion. And as we get into Genesis 12, we'll see a drastic change as the focus becomes on Abraham. Have a great day in the Lord. God bless.